In a quiet mountain village lived a young man named Thomas. He was just 24 years old, but his heart carried the weight of someone far older. Thomas was restless. His mind was always racing, flooded with thoughts that left him tired and uneasy. He often replayed his past, full of regrets, and worried endlessly about his future, full of unknowns. His thoughts felt like a storm he could never escape. Nights brought little rest, days felt heavy, and worst of all, he had forgotten how to smile. One morning, Thomas heard a story. Far away, hidden in the hills, lived a wise old man. Years ago, he had been a well-known psychologist, someone who had helped countless people find peace within themselves. Now he lived quietly, surrounded by nature, but still welcomed those who came to him with troubled hearts. Hearing this, Thomas felt a spark of hope. Maybe this man held the key to quieting his storm. Without hesitation, he packed a small bag and set out on a journey, determined to find him. The path was long and exhausting. Thomas climbed steep mountain trails, crossed rocky rivers, and walked under the hot sun by day and cold winds by night. Each step tested his strength, but he pressed on, driven by the hope of peace. Finally, after days of travel, Thomas reached a small village nestled in green hills. At the heart of the village stood a modest wooden house covered in vines. On the porch, Thomas saw the old man sitting with his eyes closed, breathing calmly as if nothing in the world could disturb his peace. "Sir, my mind is restless. My thoughts never stop. I cannot sleep and I cannot find peace. Please help me." The old man slowly opened his eyes and gave Thomas a gentle smile. Without a word, he disappeared inside the house and returned carrying a glass of water filled right up to the brim. "Take this glass," the old man said. "Walk to the edge of the village and then return to me. But do it carefully. Do not spill even a single drop." Thomas was surprised. Was this really the answer? But he saw wisdom in the old man's eyes, so he nodded, took the glass, and accepted the challenge. Thomas began walking, holding the glass with both hands. The village was full of distractions, children laughing and chasing each other, shopkeepers calling out to sell their goods, dogs barking from doorways. But Thomas ignored it all. His entire world became the glass of water. Every step was careful, every movement was steady. For once, his thoughts were quiet. At last, Thomas returned to the porch. He smiled proudly. "I did it! I didn't spill a single drop!" The old man's eyes twinkled. "Tell me, Thomas, on your walk, did you see the children playing?" Thomas shook his head. "Did you hear the dogs barking?" Again, Thomas shook his head. The old man leaned forward and said softly, "That is the secret. Your mind was so focused on the water that you forgot everything else. You were not lost in your past. You were not worrying about your future. You were here, in this moment. And in this moment, Thomas, peace lives." Thomas stood in silence. The old man's words sank deep into his heart. For the first time in years, the storm in his mind grew quiet. A calmness washed over him. Slowly, a true smile, the first in so long, appeared on his face. As the sun set over the mountains, Thomas thanked the old man and began his journey home. But he was no longer the restless young man. He had learned something powerful. Peace is not found in the past or the future. Peace is found here, now, in the present moment. Step by step, Thomas walked down the mountain path, feeling lighter, freer, and finally, at peace.